See, we are living in a world where we are all residents of spaceship Earth. If something happens that is unfavorable in one part of the globe, it has unfavorable impacts on other parts of the globe. I think that desire to see that we must help our brothers, we must help other countries, even on the part of those countries which have benefited from colonialism, has now vanished. That feeling has vanished, unfortunately. So there's very little political support for development assistance programs. And may I say, there's also a lack of leadership. There are very few leaders who say, look, we have to help the countries which are poor. We have to help communities which are poor. And maybe this will change. I hope it changes. Because today the distinction between rich and poor is becoming larger. And to my mind, that's a dangerous situation. It's not healthy on any basis at all. When I had the privilege of accepting the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the IPCC, in my speech I used the term Vasudev Kutumbakam, which is Sanskrit for saying that this universe is one family. I think that feeling has vanished. People don't believe that we are living on the same planet, we are part of the same universe, and therefore we should be concerned by every element of this universe.
There is, in the process of doing documentaries, I find that when I try to explain, when I try to ask why we are not investing enough for the environment, why we are not investing enough for education, because everybody agrees that this is not consumed, it's not money being spent, our investment. But then it seems that everybody finds a culprit somewhere else. Politicians would say, well, but the media do not understand. I mean, if we spend for something, that the profit will come to the next generation. We will have the media against us because you say you are not tackling the fundamental economic indicators. The media people will say no, because the politicians, they just see for their next interest on the next step, so they give fault to each other. Surely there is this gap between I think that somehow the top politicians, the top leaders, not everybody of course, but they are realizing that the pattern is not sustainable. There should be longer time of investment. But they seem unable to do a change because their survival is based on short terms. And on the other side there is the public, which is used to think that politicians will not think about them and anyhow will not sponsor any kind of movement. We are now in the media section. We are working, so we are working on trying to bridge this distance.
As we are walking down here as well, journalists in the third world countries, developing countries, I mean, there are certain things, there are certain issues, because customs and tradition serves as a barrier between the Western journalists and the third world journalists living in Africa, especially the developing countries. Because the way we broadcast to our own people for both radio and television varies to that of yours in the Western world. Because if you watch the way they broadcast from the Western world, well, they will be focusing on cities, well, maybe other bigger towns, whereas we are looking at bigger towns, cities, bigger towns, and the village setting. You may go to certain areas, you cannot use, the places are not motorably. You cannot access them through vehicles because you don't have good roads. You have some certain other areas where you can access those towns with vehicles. But it doesn't mean the people are not living in a standard which I think is permissible for them. You can class them that yes, they are poor because they cannot use the technology which you are using in the West. But you can't class them as if they are living below.
Along the North Atlantic coast of Sierra Leone, flanked by lush green hills, lie some of the most beautiful beaches of the world. Sierra Leone, one of the poorest countries in Africa, is still struggling to emerge from a decade of cruel civil war that ended in 2003 and left behind more than 200,000 orphans, thousands of amputees, a generation of psychologically disturbed child soldiers, and a failing healthcare infrastructure. Before the civil war, many luxurious hotels existed along the beautiful beaches. They were surrounded by barbed wire and armed guards that kept the local impoverished communities away from the coastline. These beaches were part of the local heritage before local populations got dispossessed of their resources.
You see the stones over there? There used to be a bridge that go up to that small island, and that island used to be rocky. One man by the name of Cosmos was hired by the proprietors of the hotel to break the stones on that island and create a helicopter landing. This is African Atuke village, and here is where they prepare all other food that is not on top of a grill. This place was bought by these Lebanese. They did nothing. They just buy the land and leave it. So they waited for the investors. When the investor came, they do no negotiation with the local people, because the local people sold it already to the Lebanese people for just small money. And the French people, they built. When the war broke, when it hit part of Freetown, the proprietors and the managers, they left. This place used to be very, very lovely. The DJ used to stay there. That's the DJ booths. And you have the drinks. This is the place where they sell the drinks. And then somewhere behind there, the white tourists, they like some play roulette, gambling.
Such an unbearable gap between the enterprises and communities was among the drivers of war. Now, after these hotels have been destroyed and peace has returned, the challenge is how to use nature as a resource for the empowerment and not for the subjugation of local communities.
Then the idea came with this man, Mr. Hope.
What is the idea?
He said it is better for us to come together and work for the interest of the community. So definitely 4 of us supported, but the majority didn't support, because
Why not?
they said if we decided to come together, then they can never benefit what they used to have before. They've used to work for individual benefit instead of collectively. So with this, they are not satisfied. And moreover, they said we are lazy. Lazy guys always come with brilliant ideas.